Hi, this is Roger from Holistiplan, and my days of filming in the backyard are probably over. I'm back at the soulless office now, under the fluorescent lights. I do have a story about the office, which I'll share at the end. But two product updates first. First of all, Range Calc, the beta test is going well. Thank you to everyone who have opted in to help us kind of work out the kinks in the new Range Calc with the attribution of what is causing the marginal tax to do what it does. That's been very helpful. Thank you. That is a beta. And in fact, we did find something new just this week. We weren't handling tax credits particularly well. So we've fixed that. And on screen here, you see an example of how a tax credit should show up in the screen now, where essentially a tax credit is offsetting the other sources of tax. And so it's kind of below the x-axis, whereas what would be the tax in the absence of a credit is showing up above the x-axis, and then the net is that black line in the middle. So that is that's new, pushed out this week. Thank you to those who helped us find that and point that out to us. I think Range Calc is going to be a big deal once we get it out of beta, because I think that could be a standalone product even of itself. I mean, people are really responding to that really well. In fact, I know of at least one firm who signed up for Holistiplan as a new customer because of Range Calc. Like, that was the thing they wanted. All the other stuff, they're like, okay, that's great, that's gravy. So I'm excited about that. Maybe we'll figure out how to market that as something that we do beyond just something that's an extra. The second thing, you've probably noticed at the bottom of the tax report that we've got date selectors there. That's because we're starting to make a push to pull birth date information into the system at the household level. Before, we weren't really capturing birth dates. It's not on the tax return. You may recall, if you've been around a while, we had a checkbox that said, is this client over 70 and a half or not? And then we'd be able to drop in an observation that said, okay, they're over 70 and a half, then go ahead and maybe look at QCDs. But that was very limited in scope, and so really with birthdays, though, there's so many more rules that we can add. Are they age 50 and eligible for catch-up contributions? Are they at full Social Security retirement age? Are they, the year before they're due to do RMDs, in which case that's a conversation that needs to happen with that client. So a ton more rules we can add. I've already started adding a lot of those. If you log into the system now, you'll actually see a survey we've popped up where we've got a list of all the age-based notification rules we can think of in a spreadsheet, and we've asked for, what's missing from there. And I think as of within 12 hours of me putting that up there, we had, I think, 15 good suggestions, a lot of them around dependents, but we had 15 new suggestions of specific ages at which an advisor is maybe having a very specific conversation with their client. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. Now, putting observations in the tax report is valuable, because the tax report is a starting point for a lot of conversations. But the tax report it kind of exists on a time lag, right? If I'm running that tax report as of 2019, if I'm looking at that today, sitting in 2020, yes, the client turned 50 in 2019, but the time to talk with the client about turning 50 is the year in which they turned 50. And so, yes, you can run the tax report from the scenario screen for future scenarios, but really what we need is a way to, in real time, see among all of our clients who at this moment in time is worthy of having one of these age-based notification discussions. And so stay tuned for that. I think that is days rather than weeks away. We've got some new stuff coming down on the household side, but just know that we're going to be making a push to get birthdays in there, because there's a lot of good stuff you can get into a system, or rather you can get out of a system, rules that you can program in once you know people's birthdays. So take a look at the bottom of the tax report. Man, I tell you what, trying to create a date picker that works in all browsers is almost impossible. I'm looking at you, Safari. So if it doesn't behave for you, try another browser. But I think the one we've landed on should work in most name brand browsers, but it's there. Okay, the story about our office. This was a few months ago, before the pandemic. We're all sitting in the office, and two delivery guys show up on behalf of our landlord. And they say, where's the spare room? We're like, yeah, it's down the hall back there. And they say, okay. So they go out and they come back in, and they're holding both end of a 6-foot long swordfish. And they just, no explanation. They just walk in and they just drop it off in the room, and then they leave. And that's it. There's just a swordfish sitting in this room. There's nothing else there. The landlord doesn't store anything else here. There's just a random 6-foot swordfish sitting in the swordfish room. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your support. Some new cool things coming down with the birth dates. So go ahead and start updating those birth dates for your clients in there, and you'll see some I think really cool, useful functionality coming out of that. But in the meantime, thank you for testing out Range Calc, and take care of yourselves.